working in San Mateo. I was living there with my parents. I had already set up about a month in advance a trip to come here to Montreal and visit my wife Maggie. The day was rapidly approaching. It was literally like, it was Thursday, I think, Thursday or Friday, and I was supposed to leave on a Monday, and during this whole time I had been in the process of immigrating here, and my application was pending. I got an email all of a sudden that my application was accepted and going to be finalized, and that I had to send my passport to the consulate in LA. So they weren't getting back to me, and so it was looking like I was just gonna have to drive to LA to get my passport in order to make my trip and try to make this work. So I decided to do that because I wasn't able to get a hold of anybody. I drove halfway, and I can't remember which town exactly it is that I stopped in. It's a one that is typically stopped, and my dad recommended stopping there because he always stopped there on his commutes to LA. There's a Days Inn motel there, so that's a good bet. It's a very nowhere, empty town. That's not really the point. I went there, I stayed the night, I woke up at 5:30 in the morning and got going. This was, the first serious long distance journey I'd ever made by car. I'd only had my license for 6 months or so, not even. I was pushing the truck to just about its limits. It's a 1989 Toyota long bed. I was pushing it to its limit. I was going really fast, 90 miles an hour down the highway. I was driving down Interstate I-5, which is like the worst interstate in California. The thing is awful. I shouldn't have been going that fast. I just was trying to make good time, and I was kind of nervous. And so at some point driving down the highway, I hit an object, and it took out part of the tread of my tire. And it started, shaking really bad. But I'd never had like a flat or anything, and it wasn't even fully deflated. So I thought maybe the suspension had just suddenly gone out. And so I drove for like 15 minutes on, a bad tire. And, eventually the car started crapping out. But there's this point where you go through these mountains, right before you get to LA, basically. And there's no place you can pull off, really. I had considered pulling off and going to a service station, which is my last chance. It was a tire place, so if I had known it was just a tire, I could have done that. And I ended up regretting it because I thought maybe I'll just try to make it and maybe it'll stop. I thought maybe the suspension had gone out, and not that the suspension would necessarily come back. But it it kept getting worse, and the I started going uphill, and the motor was struggling and not really coming in. It started losing its power, and eventually I wasn't even able to maintain speed. Eventually I just burned out the clutch plate, and the thing just completely lost power, disengaged from the motor, and it just wasn't going anymore. So I literally pulled off to the side of the road in the middle of nowhere with no hope in sight. And it was still dark out. The sun was coming out. Light was finally starting to happen, but it was still literally dark, and not even twilight was barely starting to happen. And so I had no idea what I was doing, where I was going, what I was going to do about this situation. I called my dad, and asked him what to do, and said I'm in fucking trouble here. I called my dad. He told me to call AAA. I called AAA. I got a truck to come out. It just turned out to be the clutch plate, and he dropped me off at the nearest mechanic, and I had to sit there in that place for hours. Ended up costing an initial $1,200 to get the clutch plate replaced, and to replace the gas main. The gas line had been torn from the mounting cup, like where you actually gas up the thing. The real irony is once I got to the service station, no sooner than I got there, I actually got a call from the Canadian consulate telling me that there was no, I shouldn't go anywhere and that they weren't, they were gonna mail my passport back to me and expedite it, and just like I was stuck in that place for like all the way until 2 p.m. 3 p.m. and it was really hot and I drove back for nothing but I got my passport, like they expedited my passport and it arrived the morning of my flight. I missed the initial flight, but like it arrived like right after my flight was supposed to happen, and I called and I got the flight changed and everything and actually got a better flight. So it ended up working in a better way, in a sort of nice way in that way, but it was very much a nightmare.